It was just an ordinary day until a bunch of kids found a secret glowing door hidden behind a wall in their neighborhood. What adventures awaited them on the other side? You'll find out in this video. A little boy named Ben was hanging out with his friends near an old abandoned house. It was rumored that ghosts lived there, but Ben didn't believe it. Suddenly, one of the boys shouted, "Guys, look, there's something behind that wall."
Ho, ho, ho!
It was a door. The doorknob shone brightly, and the wooden surface was covered with strange symbols. The friends decided to open it. On the other side, there was a beautiful garden with tall trees, flowers, and bushes. A path stretched between them, leading to a small house. "Wow, it's like a fairy tale," whispered Ben. His friend nodded, and so they stepped into the magical world. They walked along the path for a while in silence until they heard a loud flapping of wings. Startled, the children hid behind a tree.
Ho, ho, ho!
A huge, angry owl flew overhead, and when it noticed the boys, it asked sharply, "What are you doing here?" Ben was so scared that he couldn't say a word. But then he took a deep breath and answered, "We just wanted to see where this door leads." The owl calmed down a little and hooted twice. Then it said, "If you don't want to cause any trouble, go to the talking tree and ask him for help." After that, the bird flew away.
Ho, ho, ho!
When the children realized that they were alone again, they continued their journey. Soon, they saw a majestic tree with sparkling leaves. There were so many paths at its roots that it was impossible to know which one to choose. And suddenly, a squirrel popped out from behind a tree and yelled, "Hey, you smell like strangers. Are you spies?" Ben and his friends were taken aback by the talking animal. "No, we're not spies," Ben finally managed to say. "I just wanted to know whose territory this is."
Ho, ho, ho!
The squirrel looked at the children suspiciously for a few seconds. "Very well," he said slowly. "Since you aren't spies, I can ask you for a favor. Can you help me find my nut? I buried it here a long time ago, but now I can't remember where." The squirrel led the children to a clearing where hundreds of nuts lay scattered around. "Here's one of them," the animal said. "Find the biggest and brightest one. That's mine." The children started looking for the nut, and after a few minutes, Ben found it.
Ho, ho, ho!
It glowed faintly with an orange light. "Is this one?" he asked. The squirrel nodded happily and said, "Thank you, friends. In gratitude, I'll show you the way to the talking tree." The squirrel ran ahead of the children and soon stopped at the roots of the tree. "Here you go," the bushy-tailed fellow said and disappeared. The children looked at each other, smiled, and went to talk to the tree. "Hello," Ben said timidly. "Who are you?" The tree rustled its leaves and replied, "I'm the oldest and wisest tree in these parts.
Ho, ho, ho!
Ask me any question, and I'll answer it." Ben thought for a moment. "Can you tell us how to get home?" he asked. The tree sighed sadly. "My dear children, every magical world has its own rules. If you want to return home, you need to find the magic crystal. It glows brighter than all the stars in the sky. When you find it, your wish will come true." The children thanked the tree for the tip and set off in search of the crystal. Soon, they came across a clearing full of glowing plants.
Ho, ho, ho!
Ben picked one of them to look at it up close, and the stem immediately snapped. "Oh no, I broke it," the boy exclaimed. Startled, he dropped the plant, and then more and more stems broke, and the clearing was plunged into darkness. Suddenly, a tiny voice was heard. "Who's there? Who's there?" A little dragon peeked out from behind a bush. Seeing the children, he asked, "Did you break my crystals?" I need them to light up the clearing." Ben apologized to the dragon and promised to help him restore the crystals.
Ho, ho, ho!
"Thank you," the dragon said gratefully. "I'll lead you to my cave. There are a lot of crystals there, and maybe you'll find the magic one." In the cave, there were piles of colorful stones everywhere. The children got lost among them and wandered around for a long time. Finally, they sat down on the stones to rest. "I don't think we'll ever find that crystal," Ben said sadly. "Don't lose hope." "Look, a rainbow appeared," said one of Ben's friends, pointing to a crack in the ceiling.
Ho, ho, ho!
A stream of light poured through the gap and illuminated one of the crystals. It began to glow with all the colors of the rainbow. "Well, that's the magic crystal," Ben exclaimed. Suddenly, the dragon poked his head into the cave and cried out, "Hooray, it's so beautiful! But unfortunately, I can't get to it." The children were very surprised. "Why?" they asked. "Because I'm too shy," the dragon confessed. "Whenever a stranger comes into my cave, I panic and hide." Ben understood what he had to do. He took a deep breath, walked up to the dragon,
Ho, ho, ho!
and said, "Don't be afraid. We won't hurt you." The dragon looked at the boy for a few seconds and then asked, "Really?" "Of course," Ben replied with a smile. The dragon nodded slowly. Then he looked at the crystal. "You can take it," he said. "I don't need it anyway." Ben and his friends thanked the dragon and hurried out of the cave. As soon as they got outside, the crystal began to glow brightly, and the children closed their eyes from the glare. When they opened them again, they saw a familiar path in front of them.
Ho, ho, ho!
They were back in the garden. The door was right there. It seemed like the magical world had been a dream. Ben stepped through the doorway, but before he could close it, the owl flew in. "So you found the magic crystal?" it asked. Ben nodded. "And what will you wish for?" "To be honest, I don't know," the boy said. The owl sat on the doorknob and said thoughtfully, "When we know exactly what we want, we tend to become what we want to be. But if we let things take their course, we become what we're capable of."
Ho, ho, ho!
Ben pondered these words. "You're right," he finally said. "I don't want anything like that. I like being myself." The owl hooted softly and said, "That's the most important thing." Then it flew away. Ben and his friends stepped through the door one by one, and it closed behind them. When the children got back to the abandoned house, everything seemed different. Now they saw not just bricks and windows, but the portal to a magical world. Each of them understood that there would always remain a piece of magic inside.
Ho, ho, ho!
Not long after, Ben came back to the old house. He climbed onto the wall and opened the door. On the other side, the talking tree rustled its leaves merrily, welcoming the boy. Ben spent the whole afternoon in that magical place. He played with the dragon, helped the squirrel bury his nuts, and learned a lot of interesting stuff from the wise owl. The sun began to set, and it was time for Ben to go home. As he stepped through the door, he turned to the owl and asked, "Will I be able to visit you again?" "Of course," the bird replied.
Ho, ho, ho!
The magical world is always open to those who are curious. Ben smiled and hurried home. The next day, Ben told his parents about his adventures, but they didn't believe him. It's probably better that way, Ben thought. So he kept the secret of the magical world for himself. Every day, the boy returned to the mysterious door, and every time he did, his adventures continued. Sometimes he met the same characters, and sometimes he made new friends. One day, Ben brought some bread with him and shared it with the animals,
Ho, ho, ho!
Where did you get it? The owl asked suspiciously. At home, Ben replied. There's plenty of food there. The owl nodded slowly and said, Your world isn't so bad. It's just that we're used to living without people. Do you want me to bring you some more food? Ben asked. Sure, the owl said with a smile. Then come back tomorrow. The next day, Ben brought even more food for the animals. Together with the others, they sat on the grass and enjoyed the meal. Ben told his friends about his world, about cars and phones, about school and friends.
Ho, ho, ho!
Your world sounds interesting, the squirrel said thoughtfully. Maybe someday we'll come visit you, okay, but promise you won't cause any trouble. The dragon asked. Are we going to have an adventure tomorrow? Sure, Ben said with a smile. Every adventure begins with curiosity.
Ho, ho,